The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Elizabeth Chen walked to the central podium, her footsteps echoing against the crystalline walls. Every species representative present had seen the footage, the burning colony on Kepler-4 for 2b, the screaming civilians, the children, 3,000 human souls, extinguished in an afternoon by the Zarthon Dominion's demonstration of force. Elizabeth's hands trembled as she gripped the podium's edges, but her voice remained steady. For 2 centuries, humanity has followed your rules. We've limited our expansion, restricted our military, played the role of the civilized newcomer. We've been patient, we've been diplomatic. She paused, her dark eyes scanning the assembled aliens. That ends today. The Zarthon delegate, a towering insectoid creature named Kreshtok, clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his kind. Empty threats from a primitive species. Your military is bound by council regulations. You cannot. Elizabeth's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. Ambassador Kashitoki, you fundamentally misunderstand humanity. We don't follow your laws because we must. We follow them because we chose to be civilized. But civilization is a choice we make every single day. And you've just given us a reason to make a different choice. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Valkyrie representative, a gaseous being contained within an environmental suit, pulsed an anxious orange. Ambassador Chen, surely you don't mean to suggest— I suggest nothing. Elizabeth's voice cut through the noise like a blade. I'm informing you, humanity is invoking Article 7 of the Galactic Charter, the right of proportional response. As of this moment, all Council regulations on human military capabilities are suspended. Captain Jackson Torres stood on the bridge of the UHNS Retribution, watching the tactical display update in real. Around Earth, Luna and Mars, the transformation was already beginning. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels and colony ships were retooling. Construction drones that had been assembling space habitats were now fabricating weapons platforms. Sir, his tactical officer called out. The Zarthon fleet is holding position near their homeworld. They don't believe we'll actually engage. Jackson's jaw tightened. He'd lost his sister on Kepler-4 for 2b. She'd been a teacher there, working with the youngest children. They're about to learn something about humanity that the Council never taught them. The thing about humans, Jackson reflected, was that they'd spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare before they ever reached the stars. While other species had evolved past violence through biological imperative or cultural consensus, humanity had learned peace the hard way by becoming so good at war that they'd terrified themselves into cooperation. But that expertise hadn't disappeared. It had simply been set aside. Navigation. Plot jump coordinates for Zarthon Prime, Jackson ordered. Communications transmit the following message on all frequencies. For Kepler-4, for 2b, for the 3000. You wanted to see what humanity is capable of. Now you will. Back on Earth. Elizabeth stood in the War Council chambers, a room that hadn't been used in genuine military planning for generations. General Sarah Okonkwo brought up holographic displays showing the newly designated strike groups. The Zarthon military operates on the principle of overwhelming force followed by occupation, the general explained. They expect us to either surrender or engage in a prolonged defensive war. They've studied our Council-limited fleet capabilities and deemed us manageable. They studied the wrong fleet, Elizabeth said quietly. Within 72 hours, humanity unveiled what they'd been capable of all along. Warships that had been in development for decades suddenly completed construction in days because they'd been finished all along, just waiting in orbital dry docks disguised as civilian infrastructure. Weapons systems that had been classified as theoretical research, deployed with devastating precision. The Zarthon had 500 warships. Humanity brought 3,000. But it wasn't the numbers that shattered the Dominion's confidence. It was the strategy. While other species fought according to honor codes and established military doctrine, humanity fought to win. They used deception, misdirection, psychological warfare. They hacked Zarthon communications and turned their own logistics against them. They deployed weapons that were technically legal under Council law but so ruthlessly effective that no one had thought to regulate them. Jackson watched from the Retribution's bridge as the battle unfolded. The Zarthan fleet tried to form their traditional phalanx formation. Human ships flickered in and out of combat range using jump drives in ways the Council had deemed unsafe for civilian use, never mentioning that they were perfectly safe for military operations if you were willing to accept the risks. Sir, the Zothon flagship is attempting to retreat, his tactical officer reported. Denied, Jackson said coldly. I want Kreshtok to understand exactly what he unleashed. No mercy, no quarter. Not until they surrender unconditionally. The battle for Zarthon Prime lasted 6 hours. The war lasted 3 weeks. By the end, the Dominion had been reduced from a major power to a supervised protectorate, their military dismantled, their government restructured, and their leaders standing trial for war crimes. Elizabeth stood before the Galactic Council once more. The chamber was even quieter than before, but now it was a different kind of silence, the silence of fear. "Let me be absolutely clear," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. "Humanity prefers peace. We choose civilization, but never mistake our preference for peace as an inability to wage war. We are very, very good at war. We've had 10,000 years of practice." She looked directly at each ambassador in turn. "What happened to the Zarthon Dominion is what happens when you force us to stop being civilized. We showed restraint. We showed proportionality. But make no mistake, we showed only a fraction of what we're capable of." The Valkyrie ambassador pulsed a deep, respectful blue. "The council understands, Ambassador Chen." "Good." Elizabeth's expression softened slightly. "Because we'd really rather go back to building gardens on Mars and writing poetry. That's who we are when you let us be. But harm our people, and you'll discover who we become. The choice, as always, has been yours." As she left the chamber, Jackson's message pinged on her COM unit. "Mission accomplished. Coming home. The retribution needs a new name. I'm thinking something gentler." Elizabeth smiled for the first time in weeks. "How about the hope?" She replied. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it was capable of. Now, perhaps, they could finally show them what they preferred to be. The age of testing humanity was over. The age of respecting humanity had begun. The end.